The city's busiest street bustled with people, taxis honked in the distance, and luxury stores lined the sidewalks like glittering trophies. Amelia Hartley, dressed in a designer coat and heels sharp enough to cut glass, stepped out of her black SUV. She was late for a meeting but paused for a moment to adjust her sunglasses. That's when she saw him. At first, she thought she was mistaken. Slouched against a brick wall, wearing a tattered hoodie and torn jeans, sat a man with messy hair and tired eyes, holding a cardboard sign, "Anything helps." "God bless you." Amelia's heart skipped a beat. It couldn't be, but the sharp jawline, the familiar slant of his nose, it was him. Nathan Blake, her first love, her heartbreak, the boy who once promised the world, now sitting among scraps of forgotten people. For a moment, time froze. She stood there, paralyzed by the rush of memories, teenage laughter under the stars, whispered dreams in broken-down cars, stolen kisses behind the gym, and then, shame. What if he recognized her? Would he hate her for the life she left behind, for leaving him behind? Before she could turn away, Nathan's eyes lifted, they locked onto hers. Recognition flickered, a mix of shock, hurt, and something else she couldn't place. Amelia's throat dried up. She forced a polite smile, awkward and trembling, but Nathan didn't smile back. Instead, he looked away slowly, as if erasing her from his memory. A pang of guilt stabbed her chest. The security guard called out from behind her, "Ms. Hartley. Everything all right?" Snapping back into her rich, polished life, Amelia turned sharply on her heel and walked away. But she couldn't shake the feeling that some wounds never heal, no matter how much money you have. Amelia sat inside the gleaming boardroom on the 24th floor of Hartley Enterprises, surrounded by powerful men in tailored suits and polished smiles. The city skyline stretched out behind her like a painted dream. She was supposed to be leading the meeting, but her mind was still on Nathan. Numbers, projections, mergers, they blurred into meaningless noise. All she could see was the tired slump of his shoulders, the cold look in his once warm eyes. How did it happen? Nathan had always been brilliant. He was supposed to become something, someone. Did we break him? She thought bitterly, remembering how she left town for college, how she never looked back, chasing ambition while he stayed behind, trapped in a town without opportunities. "Miss Hartley," her assistant whispered, pulling her out of the spiral. Amelia blinked. Everyone was waiting for her to speak. She cleared her throat, forced a smile, and carried the meeting to a close with mechanical precision. But the moment she returned to her office, she shut the door, leaned back against it, and let herself feel the guilt gnawed at her, relentless. Nathan wasn't just an ex-boyfriend, he was once her best friend, her safe place, and now, he was another casualty of a world that chewed up dreamers and spat them out. Without thinking, Amelia grabbed her phone. Her fingers hovered over the screen. Should she do something? Find him? Help him? But what if he didn't want her pity? What if reaching out only made things worse? Torn between shame and responsibility, Amelia stared out of her glass office, feeling more trapped than ever. In a world full of power and privilege, some debts couldn't be paid with money. The next morning, Amelia stood outside the same busy street corner, her heart hammering against her ribs. She clutched a paper bag filled with food, a coffee, and a wad of cash tucked deep inside. It felt stupid. It felt arrogant, but still, she stayed. Pedestrians rushed past her, barely noticing the man hunched against the cold wall. Nathan hadn't moved much from yesterday. Same hoodie, same blank stare into the crowd. Was this really him, the boy who once climbed trees to steal apples for her, who wrote terrible songs on his beat-up guitar, now invisible to the world? Taking a shaky breath, Amelia walked forward. Every step closer made her doubt herself more. Maybe he'd throw the food back at her, maybe he'd curse her name, maybe he wouldn't remember her at all. She stopped a few feet away. "Nathan?" she said softly. No response. She knelt down, ignoring the way her designer coat brushed the dirty sidewalk. "I brought you something," she said, placing the bag beside him. Slowly, Nathan turned his head. His eyes, dull and tired, rested on her, and for a fleeting second, they flickered with life, recognition, pain, maybe even resentment. "I don't need charity," he said hoarsely. Amelia's heart cracked. "It's not charity," she whispered. "It's an apology." Nathan looked at her, really looked at her, as if weighing her soul. The tension between them was thick, fragile. Finally, he picked up the coffee, his fingers trembling slightly. "Thanks," he muttered, barely audible. Amelia managed a small smile. Maybe this wasn't forgiveness. Maybe it wasn't healing, but it was something. A start. A small act of courage in a world that had taught them both to keep moving, to never look back. Maybe this time, she wouldn't run away. They sat together awkwardly on the sidewalk, two souls from two different worlds, yet forever linked by memories they couldn't erase. Cars zoomed by, and people barely glanced at them, the rich girl and the homeless man sharing a moment in the chaos. Amelia didn't know what to say. She had prepared 1,000 sentences, practiced apologies in the mirror, but now, none of them seemed right. Nathan sipped the coffee slowly, his eyes fixed on some invisible point in the distance. How long have you been here? She finally asked. Nathan gave a dry chuckle, low and bitter. Long enough to know nobody really sees you. He didn't look at her when he said it. The word stung more than Amelia expected. I didn't know, she whispered. It sounded pathetic. It was pathetic. Nathan shrugged, pulling his hoodie tighter around himself. You left, he said flatly. You had bigger dreams. Bigger places to be. There was no anger in his voice, just emptiness. Maybe that was worse. Amelia swallowed the lump in her throat. I never meant to leave you behind, she said, the guilt threading through every word. I was young, scared, selfish. Nathan finally turned to look at her, his gaze sharp. We were both young, he said, but you had a way out. I didn't. The truth of it hit her like a slap. She had always taken her father's money, her privilege, for granted. Nathan had nothing but dreams, dreams that life had crushed underfoot. A heavy silence fell between them. Around them, the world moved on, but for the first time in years, Amelia stayed rooted in the moment, facing the wreckage she had left behind. Maybe healing wasn't about grand gestures. Maybe it started with broken conversations. And the courage to listen. The sky turned a bruised shade of purple as the sun dipped low behind the city skyline. Nathan finished his coffee, setting the empty cup beside the paper bag, still half full with food he hadn't touched. Amelia fidgeted with the hem of her coat, feeling the weight of everything unsaid pressing down between them. She knew what she wanted to do, she just didn't know how to say it without sounding like she was throwing him scraps. Finally, she took a deep breath and spoke. Nathan. I want to help you. Please. Let me. His shoulders stiffened. Slowly, he turned his tired eyes toward her. What? You want to save me now? He asked, voice low and bitter. No, not save, she said quickly. I have a guest house. You could stay there. Get cleaned up. Rest. Get back on your feet. Nathan laughed. A harsh, humorless sound that made Amelia's heart ache. Stay in your guest house? Be the charity case you tell your friends about at brunch? Her cheeks flushed with shame. No, she said, voice trembling, I don't want anything from you. No stories, no favors. Just a second chance. For both of us. Nathan stared at her, and for a moment, she thought he might actually consider it, but then he shook his head, slow and heavy, as if shaking off a dream he didn't dare believe in. I'm not your project, Amelia, he said, and I'm not the boy you used to know. The words hit harder than any slap. Amelia felt tears sting her eyes, but she blinked them back. Nathan stood up, grabbing the paper bag. Thanks for the coffee, he muttered, turning away. Amelia watched him disappear into the crowd, feeling the cold settle deeper into her bones. Maybe she couldn't fix him, maybe she wasn't supposed to, but she wasn't done trying yet. That night, Amelia sat in her lavish apartment, untouched dinner growing cold on the table. The glittering city lights outside mocked her loneliness. And no matter how much success she stacked around herself, none of it filled the hollow space Nathan had exposed. She thought about him, the way he had flinched at her offer, the way pride and pain twisted together in his eyes. Nathan didn't need pity. He needed dignity. He needed a chance that didn't come wrapped in guilt. Amelia grabbed a notepad and began scribbling ideas furiously. Housing, jobs, would he even trust her enough to accept anything now? An idea sparked, something different, something real. Instead of handing him help, what if she built something he could own, a way for him to feel in control again? A way to start fresh, without owing her anything. Her mind raced. Nathan had always been good with his hands, fixing bikes, repairing broken things no one else could. What if a repair shop, a small one that she could rent the space anonymously, stock it with tools, set it up with no strings attached. No lectures. No guilt trips, just opportunity. Amelia smiled for the first time that day. This felt right, helping without suffocating, giving without expecting. She picked up her phone and started contacting real estate agents, hunting for cheap rentals on the outskirts of town. It was late, but she didn't care. She worked through the night, fueled by a kind of hope she hadn't felt in years. Tomorrow, she'd find Nathan again. Not with apologies, not with handouts, but with a future he could call his own, and maybe, just maybe, she could earn back a piece of what they had lost. The next day, Amelia didn't waste time. She'd secured a small storefront on the outskirts of town, tucked away from the glimmering city lights but perfect for what Nathan needed. A space for him to rebuild, without any flash or pretense. She didn't tell anyone what she was doing. No one needed to know. This was her chance to show Nathan that she respected him, not as a charity case, but as a man with potential. By noon, she was walking the same street where she had first seen him. It was colder today, the wind biting at her exposed skin. She scanned the familiar corner, heart pounding. There he was, still in the same spot, his eyes glazed over as he stared into the distance. A part of her wanted to turn away, to leave him to his pride, but this was it, the moment she could change everything. She approached slowly, the paper bag from yesterday still fresh in her memory. Nathan, she called softly. He didn't look up at first, but she could tell he heard her. Finally, his tired eyes met hers. The look in them was a mixture of wariness and curiosity. What now? He asked, his voice hoarse. Amelia took a deep breath and steadied herself. I found a place for you, she said. Nathan blinked, then let out a sharp laugh. Another handout, huh? I told you I'm not your project. This isn't about charity, Amelia insisted, her voice firm. I rented a shop, a small one, nothing fancy. It's yours. If you want it. No strings. You can fix things, work on bikes, anything. I just want to give you a chance. I'm not saving you, Nathan. I'm just giving you an opportunity to stand on your own 2 feet again. Nathan's face softened for the first time in days. His mouth opened, but no words came out. He looked at her as if he couldn't quite understand. I don't need your pity, Amelia, he finally whispered, his voice breaking, but there was a tremor in his words, hope mingled with the harshness. Amelia gave him a small, steady smile. I'm not pitying you. I'm giving you the key to a future that's still in your hands. Nathan stood still for a long moment, his eyes never leaving hers. Finally, he nodded, just once, and for the first time in a long while, Amelia felt like she had done something right. The next few days passed in a blur of activity. Amelia worked tirelessly, getting the shop ready. She arranged for the necessary supplies, ordered tools, and even made sure there was a small sign hung on the door, ready for Nathan's arrival. Every night, she stayed late, poring over the small details, making sure everything was perfect. She knew Nathan would hesitate, she knew it would take time, but this was his chance, and she wouldn't let it slip away. Then, on the 4th morning, just before dawn, Nathan showed up at the shop. His face was unreadable, his hands shoved deep into his hoodie pockets as he stared at the storefront. For a moment, Amelia stood frozen inside, unsure of what he would say. Finally, she pushed the door open and stepped out, walking slowly toward him. You came, she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Nathan didn't answer at first. He just stood there, his eyes scanning the small shop. It wasn't much, just a single room with worn floors, shelves full of old tools, and a workbench in the back, but it was clean. It was functional. It was a place to begin again. This is all yours, Amelia said, her hands nervously fidgeting at her sides. No strings. No expectations. Just a chance. To fix things. To work. To make something of yourself. Nathan finally spoke, his voice low but steady. Why? Amelia took a deep breath. Because I believe in you. I don't want to just give you a handout. I want to help you find a way to stand up again. He nodded, though there was still hesitation in his eyes. Amelia didn't press him, she didn't need to. The simple act of showing up, of being there, that was enough. For a moment, there was silence between them, but it wasn't awkward, it was peaceful, and, for the first time in a long while, Amelia felt like she had made the right choice. The days that followed Nathan's decision to take the shop were slow but steady. At first, he didn't do much. He spent hours simply sitting in the corner of the space, staring at the tools, the workbench, and the potential that seemed just out of reach. It wasn't easy, for someone who had spent years surviving on the streets. The transition to rebuilding a life was overwhelming, but Amelia never pushed him. She let him take it at his own pace. Each morning, she'd drop by to check in, bringing coffee and a smile, offering encouragement without ever crossing a line. She didn't want to be his savior, she just wanted to be there. On the fifth day, Amelia showed up and found Nathan standing in front of the workbench, a pile of old bike parts in front of him. His hands were moving with purpose, assembling something. At first, he didn't even notice her entrance, but when he looked up and saw her standing there, he gave her a small, shy smile. "I think I might have fixed this one," he said, his voice still rough but laced with a quiet pride. Amelia took a step closer, her heart swelling with something she couldn't quite name. "Can I see?" she asked softly. Nathan moved aside, revealing an old bike, now shining with new life. The frame was still a little worn, but the wheels turned smoothly, the gears clicked with precision. It was functional, yes, but more than that, it was a testament to Nathan's skills he had almost forgotten he had. "You did this," Amelia said, her voice filled with admiration. "You're doing it, Nathan. You're really doing it." Nathan's expression softened, a mix of surprise and disbelief in his eyes. "Yeah, I guess I am." And in that moment, Amelia knew that they both had taken the first step towards something new, not just a second chance for Nathan, but for herself as well, because in helping him find his way back, she had found hers. As the weeks went by, the little shop began to grow. Nathan worked tirelessly, fixing old bikes, repairing whatever came his way. His hands, once calloused and broken from years of struggle, now moved with confidence and skill. People started hearing about the shop, and slowly, customers began showing up. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Amelia visited him regularly, bringing lunch, offering advice when needed, and simply being there to support him. They never talked about the past, they didn't need to. Their bond was shifting, evolving into something different, something neither of them could have predicted. One afternoon, as Amelia was about to leave, Nathan stopped her. "Amelia," he said, his voice unsteady but sincere, I just wanted to say thank you, for everything." Amelia turned to him, her eyes soft with understanding. "I didn't do much," she replied, her voice gentle. "You did all of this. You took the chance. You believed in yourself." Nathan shook his head. "No," he said, his voice thick. "I couldn't have done it without you." There was a long pause as they stood there, the weight of those words hanging between them. Amelia felt a lump form in her throat. She hadn't realized how much she needed to hear that. "You're welcome," she whispered, "but I think we both needed this. More than we knew." Nathan smiled, a real smile, and it made Amelia's heart flutter. It was different now, the awkwardness, the distance, the uncertainty, it had all faded. There was a sense of peace between them, something unspoken, but real. As Amelia left that afternoon, she felt a warmth in her chest. She wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time in years, she felt hopeful, for both of them. Maybe, just maybe, this was only the beginning.